Good morning, students. In yesterday's lecture, we just ended up with architecture of 8051, and we are starting with looking into the pin functions of 8051. Is that okay? We saw this picture of 8051 microcontroller, correct? We will be looking into 8051. If you see the picture below, that is how actual circuit is inside any of the chip, and whatever you see that's mirror like, that is called as a die, correct? And that entire thing is called as a chip, that 40 pin chip, but where the actual circuit is present, we call that as a die. Is that okay? And that is, these both are the pictures of 8751 UV light erasable and programmable microcontroller, correct? Then we looked into, this is a 40 pin microcontroller, pin number 1 to 20 on one side, 21 to 40 on the other side. This structure is called a dual inline package microcontroller. And we started with looking into the function of each and every pin. We started with pins 1 to 8, correct? Pin number 1 to 8 is dedicated for port 1. It is the only, it performs a single functionality. What? It is used to connect input and output devices to the port, correct? And that is called as general purpose IO, GPIO port. Port 1 is a dedicated GPIO port. Its port address is 90 hex. Refer it by its name P1 or refer it by its address 90 hex. You can use it bitwise. So it is P1.1 to P1.7. That's by name. Whereas 90, 91, 92, 97 hex are by its address. These are the bit addresses of port 1, right? We call it as a quasi bidirectional port because either it will act as an input or it will act as an output. And so as to act as an input, we need to initialize the port to act as an input. Hence the name quasi bidirectional, correct? Whenever we reset microcontroller or whenever we power on microcontroller, logic 1 will appear on all the port pins, right? And they will start behaving as an input. So whenever we reset or whenever we power on, all the port pins will be initialized as inputs and will show logic 1 on it, right? And there are internal pull-up, some circuitry which we call it as internal pull-up is present inside port 1. We are going to see this internal pull-up now, right? So port 1 is what we studied in the yesterday's lecture. Now we'll go to port 0. So pin numbers 32 to 39 are port 0, right? So look into the pin diagram. Pin number 32 is P0.7 and pin number 39 is P0.1. And they are combined with address and data lines AD0 to AD7. Is that okay? So your port 0 is combined with another functionality, and that functionality is of address and data lines, 8 address and 8 data lines, right? Hence port 0 is called as a multi-functionality port, right? It is acting as an input output port. It is also acting as address lines, and it is also acting as data lines, right? Hence it is called as multi-functionality port, right? Whenever we reset microcontroller, logic 1 appears on all the port pins. Port pins act as an input output pins and they are initialized as inputs ready to read, correct? So by default, port 0 behaves as an IO port by default, right? And whenever we power on microcontroller, logic 1 appears on all the port pins, same like port 1, and the ports are ready to read. Is that okay? Next, now when do they behave as address and data line? when some external memory is interfaced to port 0, automatically port 0 will start behaving as address and data line. So address and data line functionality becomes active only when some external memory is interfaced to microcontroller. Correct? And how does microcontroller understand that some external memory is interfaced? There is a pin called as external access, EA. Whenever we ground this pin, microcontroller understands external memory is interfaced to microcontroller, and port 0 automatically starts behaving as address and data port. Are you getting me? Right? And now see, address and data, again, two things are combined in it. They are behaving as address lines as well as they are behaving as data lines. This is called multiplexing. Okay, this combination of AD0 to AD7 is called as time multiplexing, actually, to be very specific. For certain time duration, those lines will behave as an address lines, and for the later time duration, the same lines automatically start behaving as data lines. So AD0 to AD7, that's called as multiplexed address and data lines. Correct? And now port 0 is purely bidirectional. Bidirectional mean you can read as well as write without doing any initializations. Right? And when does it act as a bidirectional port? When we are using it as D0 to D7, data lines. Correct? Whenever that port behaves as data lines, we say the port is bidirectional. Are you getting me? Right? Because if you remember the control signals, we have address lines, data lines, control lines. Address lines are unidirectional. They are output to microcontroller. Data lines are bidirectional. Microcontroller can send out data as well as take in data. So data lines are bidirectional. Address lines are unidirectional. And control lines are also unidirectional. Is that okay? So hence we say port 0 is bidirectional port. And be very careful when it is a bidirectional, only when it acts as data line. Correct? Whenever it acts as an input-output port, again you need to do initialization for input. So it's partial. Either IO port, it will act as an output or as an input. Fine. Address lines, it will act only as output. Right? Now the next, that's a point to be remembered. Port 0 is an open drain port. Correct? Port 0 is an open drain port. It needs an external pull-up. Correct? What did we say about port 1? Port 1 has an internal pull-up. Right? But port 0 needs an external pull-up. And hence it is called as an open drain port. We will see to this. Fine? Now what is this open drain and internal pull-up and external pull-up? Look into the next circuitry shown here. What is this circuit? This is the internal port pin structure. So see on the rightmost side of here it is written port pin. Mean this can be P1.0, P1.1 or P0.0, P0.1. So this is the port pin. Correct? And see the dashed line. To the left hand side of the dashed line, this entire is the structure inside the port. Now if you remember, we had said every port has an 8-bit latch. So can you see here D latch? Okay. So every port has an 8-bit latch, 1 bit for 1 pin. So this is that D latch. Okay. And every port has drivers. So can you see this triangle shape? Right? This triangle shape are the drivers. Hope you are getting me. So this is the port pin P0.0 or P1.0. Each port pin is associated with a latch. So you can see here the D latch, and they are associated with the drivers, the triangles, read latch and the read pin driver. Okay. And see in between there is one circuitry. You have that inverter. From D latch, you have that inverter, and that inverter is driving this symbol is of MOSFET, right? Specifically NMOS device, right? We said 89C51, C stands for CMOS, complementary metal oxide semiconductor, right? What it comprises of? NMOS and PMOS devices. So this is that MOSFET. Is that okay? And on the top of the MOSFET, you can see here, there is something called as internal pull-up. Are you getting me? Now, what is the functionality of this particular internal pull-up? Whenever this MOSFET is off, correct? Whenever the MOSFET is off, the output is decided by this internal pull-up. See, the MOSFET is off, means it is disconnected. There is no connection to the ground, mean it is disconnected. So then this pin gets connected to VCC. Is that okay? Whenever the MOSFET is on, the pin gets shorted to ground. So whenever the MOSFET is on, the port pin gets shorted to ground and the output is 0. And whenever the MOSFET is off, the port pin gets connected to VCC through this internal pull-up. And hence, the output of that pin becomes logic 1. Is that okay? And that is the reason logic 1 appears on the pin. Because of whom? Because of this pull-up circuit. Hence the name pull-up. Is that okay? So what did we say? Port 1 has an internal pull-up. So that is the structure of port 1. Right? This dashed line, this circuit is inside microcontroller and port 1 has internal pull-up. Correct? Whereas port 0 is like this. Can you see here? So that is the port pin and that is port 0. See, this is the MOSFET. And above MOSFET, the circuitry is missing. There is no circuitry here. And for MOSFET, you can see the 3 terminals and they are named as, this is called drain, this is called gate, and this is called source. That source is grounded. So the terminals, like in your transistors, emitter, base, collector. Similarly, MOSFETs, the terminal are drain, gate, source. So see, wherever that pin is connected, that terminal is called drain. And for the drain, there is no circuitry, hence the name open drain. Are you getting me? Now, whenever the MOSFET is on, the pin gets shorted to ground. On means it is a closed switch. Correct? So whenever the MOSFET is on, the port pin gets shorted to ground. See, like this, the port pin gets shorted to ground. And hence, logic 0 appears on the pin. But when the MOSFET is off, what do I expect? The pin should show logic 1. So the MOSFET is off, means this is open circuit at the ground. There is no other connection coming to the pin. So what happens? Logic 0 will remain logic 0. In fact, the pin is floating. See here, there is no connection to the ground and the pin is floating. So that is called open drain port. So the pin is floating as well as we don't have a correct voltage at the pin. I should have got logic 1, but I don't get it because of this open drain. Is that okay? So then what do we do? Whenever you are using port 0, see, externally on the breadboard, I will take one resistor and one terminal of the resistor, I will connect it to VCC, that is power supply, and the second terminal of the resistor, I will connect to the port pin. Is that okay? It means, see, this circuitry, this resistor and this VCC, I will be connecting it on the breadboard externally. Is that correct? That is for port 0. Right? So see, whenever you are dealing with port 0, be careful. Externally, port 0 is an open drain port and hence needs an external pull-up. So you should be connecting one resistor on the breadboard externally. Then and then only the port will function correctly. Or else always it will show logic 0. Right? It will show a logic 0 or it will show some random voltage. Is that okay? So that is the important feature of port 0, right? And the next 2 points, the port address is 80 hex, P0 address is 80 hex, the bit address is 808182 to 87 hex, and the bit access is P0.0, 0.1 and 0.7. So pin numbers 32 to 39 are dedicated to port 0 along with address data lines. Right? To summarize, by default, pin numbers 32 to 39 act as IO port. But when some external memory is connected, they start behaving as address data lines. Is that okay? And it's a true bidirectional port. When it acts as a data lines, it's a bidirectional port. And that is the internal structure of port 1. This is the internal structure of port 0. Okay. Now we will look into port 2. So port 2, it's pin number 21 to, see, look here, pin diagram. So there is port 2 from pin number 21 to 28. And port 2 is combined with A8 to A15. A stands for address line. Correct? So that is your port 2, again of dual function. So port 2 pins 21 to 28, and they are also combined with A8 to, sorry, this should be A15. By mistake, I did write A18. A8 to A15. Okay. It's a dual functionality port. What dual function? It acts as an input-output port, or it acts as an address line. Quasi-bidirectional mean either it will act as output. You have to initialize so that it will start behaving as input. And when it acts as an address line, it is unidirectional, mean it behaves as an output. Right? So partially bidirectional at a time, either as input or as output. So quasi-bidirectional. Right? On reset, it acts as an IO port P2. So whenever we power on microcontroller or reset microcontroller, by default functionality is IO port. P2 behaves as an IO port. Logic 1 appears on all the pins and they are ready to read. Mean initialize as input. Port 2 is initialized as input whenever we reset microcontroller. Correct? And when does it start functioning as address line? When we interface or connect some external memory, automatically P2 starts functioning as address lines, A8 to A15. So that's an higher order address. Port 0 had, look into, port 0 had A0 to A7, lower address, and port 2 has upper address, A8 to A15. Fine. Next, port 2 has an internal pull-up. So if you remember, that was internal pull-up. Port 2 has this circuitry inside. Port 2 has an internal pull-up. The address of port 2 is A0 hex. Refer it by name P2 or refer it by its address A0 hex. The bit addresses are A0, A1, A2, A3, A7 up to A7. Right? And the bit name P2.0, 2.1 to P2.7. So that were the functionalities of pins 21 to 28, which is port 2. Is that okay? Next, port 3. Now, if you look into the pin diagram, see here, port 3 begins from pin number 10, 11, 12 up to 17. That is port 3. And each and every port 3, see 3.0 is combined with RxD. What is RxD? The receiver bit used during serial communication. So TXD, RxD are the two pins required for serial communication. RSD, pin to receive data. TXD, pin to transmit data. The next two pins, P3.2, P3.3 are for interrupts. There are two hardware interrupts. So these are those two hardware interrupt pins, INT0, INT1. And see, there is a bar on its top So we call it as INT0 bar, active low interrupts, right? So whenever there is a bar on, that indicate those are active low signals. Logic 0 will activate those two interrupts. Okay. Next, 3.4, 3.5 are the pins associated with the two timers, timer 0, timer 1. Correct? So we had said these two pins are the timer counter pins. Next, 3.6, 3.7 are the read-write control signals. They are related to external memory interface. So see, port 3 is associated with signals related to serial communication, TXD, RXD, signals related to interrupts, INT0, INT1, related to timers, T0, T1, and related to external memory interface, read-write. Correct? So port 3 is again a dual functionality port, either IO or any one of this. Right? It is quasi bidirectional, mean at a time it will act either as an input or as an output, quasi bidirectional. On reset, logic 1 appears on the pin and they are ready to read, mean initialized as inputs. They have internal pull-up. Port 3 has internal pull-up circuitry. The address is B0. So refer it by name P3 or refer it by address B0. Bit addresses B0, B1, B2 up to B7. Bit names P3.02, 3.12, P3.7. Is that okay? So these were related to port 3 pin functions of pin number 10 to 17. Right? So just take a look here. 3.0, 3.1 related to serial communication, RXD receiving data, TXD transmitting data. And these are the bit addresses B0, B1. 3.2, 3.3 related to active low interrupts, external interrupt 0, external interrupt 1. And these are the addresses B2, B3. 3.4, 3.5, they are related to timer T0, T1. These are the address B4 and B5. Okay. Now this T0, T1, I said whenever we use it as a counter, some external event, it is counting. So that external event signal should be connected to T0, T1. That is pin number 3.4 to pin number 3.5. So whatever arrives on these two pins will be counted. Fine. So T0, T1. And the last two pins, 3.6, 3.7, are the control signals, read-write control signals. See, whenever we connect memory, the signals related to memory are address lines, data lines, the read and the write from memory. So address lines we saw, address lines is combined with port 0 and port 2. Data lines are again combined with port 0, D0 to D7. And this is where the control lines are available, read and the write. So we will go to the next pin function, and that is a reset pin. Now this is very important pin among all the 40 pins. Yeah, VCC ground are important, and the next important one is a reset pin. Okay, pin number 9. If you look into the pin diagram, that's your pin diagram, pin number 9, RST. Okay. So the reset pin, it is an input pin to microcontroller, correct? And it's active high. How is the signal? Active high. It means logic 1 appearing on pin number 9 will reset microcontroller. Okay. What the first two statements say? Logic 1 arriving on pin number 9 will reset microcontroller. Okay. And up till now we are continuously saying on resetting microcontroller, this happens. On resetting microcontroller, this functionality happens. So we are going to look at that reset pin. Okay. Now, there are two ways you can reset microcontroller. One is power on reset. Applying the VCC to microcontroller is power on reset. And the other one is manual reset. User will somewhere in between reset the controller. So there are two ways. Power on reset is also called as cold start, and manual reset is called as a warm start. I hope you all might have heard about these terms, cold start, warm start. Okay, fine. So power on reset or manual reset. We will be having some circuitry which will reset microcontroller. That is manual reset. Okay. And when will microcontroller reset? Look into that input signal should remain high for a minimum of 2 machine cycles. Then and then only controller will reset. It will say, this is a valid signal, and then it resets. Okay. So input signal must remain high for a minimum of 2 machine cycles. Machine cycle comprises of 12 T states. So for 12 megahertz oscillator, we have a machine cycle of 1 microsecond. So 2 machine cycles. So we will be having for 12 megahertz. Oh, this should be 2 microseconds. Huh? So by mistake, this should be 2 microseconds. So 2 machine cycles mean 2 microseconds for 12 megahertz oscillator. So that should be the duration. Logic 1 should remain for 2 microseconds. Is that okay? And we say that on resetting microcontroller, few initializations happen inside. Reset is used to initialize microcontroller. Okay. What initialization? Look into microcontroller initializes. Mean what all operations happen inside? The first one, all interrupts are disabled. Correct? On initializing microcontroller, on resetting microcontroller, the functions happening inside is all interrupts disabled. Ports logic 1 appears on all the pins. In hex we call it as FF, and the pins are initialized as inputs. Correct? All the ports behave as IO port. Logic 1 appears on them and they are initialized as inputs. Program counter is loaded with address 000 hex. We saw this when we studied program counter. Right? Program counter gets cleared when we reset microcontroller. Next, the register bank selected is bank 0. We saw this in flag register. By default, bank 0 is selected. It means those registers are used, R0 to R7 of bank 0. Stack pointer is loaded with 7 hex. So that is from where the stack memory begins. So when we reset microcontroller, 7 hex gets loaded in stack pointer register. Correct? All the timers are stopped. If the timer or the some counting operation is going on, that timer is stopped. Right? And the count registers TH0, TL0 are cleared. So when we reset microcontroller, all these things happen inside. Interrupts are disabled, ports, logic 1 appears on all the ports are IO ports, initialized as inputs, program counter is cleared, bank 0 gets selected, stack pointer loads with 7 hex, timer counter stops, and the count registers are cleared. This is called initializing microcontroller. When does it happen? When we reset microcontroller. Okay. Now, just to be more elaborate, initialization of microcontroller, look into all these special function registers. What special function registers? Accumulator, B, DPTR, flag register, PSW, SCON, serial communication, TCON, timer control, TMOD, timer mode control, and the count registers, TH0, TL0, timer 0, TH1, TL1, timer 1. All these special function registers are cleared. 0000 is loaded in it. Correct? Interrupt pointer register, it's an 8-bit register. It's also cleared except the last 2 bits. It's shown XX. XX mean don't care. It can be 0, it can be 1. XX, right? So interrupt enable register, it's also cleared except the second last bit. It will be showing something random. Don't care. SBUF, there will be some random content which will be don't care. PCON, cleared except the 3 bits. Stack pointer, loaded with 07. See, it's written in binary initially and then in hex, 7 hex. And all the ports, logic 1 appears on all the pins. 1111 in binary, which is FF in hex. So exactly this is what happens inside the microcontroller. Majority of the special function registers are cleared. Correct? Stack pointer 7, ports FF. So this is called initialization of microcontroller, right? And when does this initialization happen? When we reset microcontroller. And there are 2 options for reset. See, one is the manual reset and the other is power on reset. Now see, there is RST written. It means that is the microcontroller pin number 9. Okay, RST is that pin number 9 of microcontroller. And see, that's VCC 5 volt, to which we have a 10 microfarad capacitor connected. This is an electrolytic capacitor. See, hence positive is written at the top and below is negative. So that's an electrolytic capacitor. The value 10 microfarad and a resistor down 8.2 kilo ohm. And this connection goes to pin number 9 of microcontroller, the arrow shown. Okay. Now, why did we choose 10 microfarad and 8.2 kilo ohm? Just because that signal should remain high for 2 microseconds. Then and then only the reset will happen. So to get that time period, we have this value of capacitor and the resistor chosen. Correct? The time period is calculated by 0.6. The formula to calculate the time period is 0.693 R into C. So when you do this calculation, 0.693 into the resistor is 8.2 kilo ohm and the capacitor is 10 microfarad. We are definitely going to get the reset pulse greater than 2 microseconds. Hence the value are like this. Correct? There is nothing random. The values have some meaning. Okay, we don't choose any random capacitor or any random resistor. Fine. So this is power on reset. So power on means initially this 5 volt is not present. So it's 0 volt here. And whenever you connect a battery, 5 volt appears. Correct? And this 5 volt is going to send logic 1 on that pin number 9. Right? The capacitor is going to charge and at the same time logic 1 will appear on the line. And when the capacitor is fully charged, 5 volt, this will have 0. And that will come out of the reset. And hence we say it automatically resets and automatically comes out of the reset. Is that okay? And now the same power on circuit here. See here, 5 volt, 10 mu farad, 8.2. Look at the left hand side of your PPT. So 5 volt, 10 mu farad, 8.2. So this is power on circuit. To that, we have additionally connected a switch. One of the terminal of the switch is connected to the supply, 5 volt. And the other terminal is connected here to the pin number 9. Correct? So by default, the switch is open. Mean the microcontroller here, it appears logic 0. But when you press the switch, see, when you press the switch, this pin number 9 directly gets connected to 5 volt. So when you press the switch, logic 1 appears on pin number 9. And you reset microcontroller. So you are resetting controller with the help of the switch. Hence we say this is a manual reset. Is that okay? So we have this manual reset, and if the switch is not there, we say that is power on reset. Is that okay? So power on means for initial few time period, microcontroller is in the reset state and it automatically comes out of the reset when the capacitor fully charges. The next 2 pin connections. See here, pin number 18 and 19 we looked into when we studied the clock circuitry in architecture, right? There is an on-chip clock, but to drive that clock we need to connect an oscillator, and that is connected between the two pins 18 and 19, named as XTAL1, XTAL2. So usually we connect a 12 megahertz crystal oscillator, correct? See, but there are three options to give that clock input signal to the on-chip clock circuitry. What are the three options? 12 megahertz crystal oscillator. This is one option. Between pin number 18 and 19, connect a crystal oscillator. Second option is some TTL circuitry, external TTL circuitry will act as a clock. And the third option is some CMOS clock circuit will act as a clock. So these are the three options to give a clock input to microcontroller. Is that okay? So the first option, see at the left hand side of your screen, the first option is we are connecting a crystal oscillator. You see that gray box and the two parallel line, that is the symbol of oscillator. This is 12 megahertz crystal oscillator between 18 and 19 pins. And these are the two bypass capacitors. I told you 33 picofarad are the two capacitors, so that they will provide a stabilized square wave as an input to 18 and 19. These bypass the ripples, correct? If you do not connect this, that disturbed clock signal will enter in microcontroller. So we need a perfect square wave, and that is achieved by this bypass capacitors, 33 picofarad bypass capacitors, whereas this is the crystal oscillator. Hope you all are getting me. Okay, so that's the first option. Second option is some circuitry will generate a square wave, and what circuitry is TTL, transistor logic. See, you all have done your digital practicals, students. Digital practicals, you all have used those ICs 7400, 7408. Those are TTL circuits, right? Just you all to understand, whatever digital practicals you all did, those were used using TTL circuits. So this clock source mean there is some square wave coming from a TTL circuit, right? But made up of transistor logic. Or you can connect some square wave coming from a CMOS circuit. CMOS is MOSFET. So if it is a TTL circuit, you connect it to XTAL2, whereas XTAL is grounded. If you connect a CMOS square wave, you connect it to pin number 19, whereas other pin 18 is kept unconnected. Hope you all are getting me, students. So there are three options to give a clock input to microcontroller. Is that okay? So I said one is a crystal oscillator, second is some TTL clock. So I have shown it here. See, it can be a simple inverter. There is a external crystal oscillator. Output of it is a TTL inverter gate, and from that inverter you will get one square wave which you will connect it to XTAL2. Correct? So that's how you give a TTL square wave as input. Whereas some external oscillator will be connected to a CMOS inverter, and the output of CMOS inverter is connected to XTAL1. So that is the CMOS clock source. The first one is a TTL clock source, and the initial one was a crystal oscillator. So we prefer connecting a crystal oscillator. Hope you all get that, right? And why are the other two options available? We have already some circuit, some clock circuit, and we want to operate microcontroller on the same frequency. Hence, the next two options have been provided: TTL clock source, CMOS clock source. Right? I just hope, students, you all have understood this. Okay. So I'll stop here, and thank you for attending. Okay. Bye, students. See you in the next session.